All right, so here we are, the final lesson for the cables. What Steve's going to do is set it up so that we have another Vex network that will allow us to put normals on our points that are pointing down the curve, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
So that we can then copy a series of circles to all of our points and have the circles orientated in the right direction.
Yeah.
For the most part, with the exception of the beginning.
Pretty much for the first point on each cable, so I'll explain when we get there.
And which is no big deal because it's not going to be seen. And then we'll skin it up and then make sure that all of our curves are properly copied.
Yeah, so our cables actually have some thickness and aren't just lines.
And we're done with cables and can move on.
Yeah, secondary cables. Woo, more cables.
There you go. So let's go ahead and finish these off.
Alright, so after our switch, we're going to take the cable as it's coming in as our line with some points, and we're going to run it into a new VOPSOP, and inside that VOPSOP we're going to change the normals of the points such that they point at the previous point before them, and we'll use that to orient the circles, because when you copy a circle using this cable as the template geometry, it's going to use the point normal to orient that circle.
Right.
So let's grab this switch, and in between the switch and the copy, let's wire in a new VOPSOP, which I will call VOP normals. And if we jump inside this guy, we've got our output. So let's bring in the cable geometry using a global variables. And since we don't want the position of the points themselves to change, we can wire that straight through to the output.
Yeah, because we've already gone through a lot of effort to make sure the position of the points are where we want them.
Yeah, so I mean, changing that would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
But we are going to be changing the normal, so we will be wiring something up to the normal.
Okay.
And the way we're going to do this, we're basically going to take the position of our current point and subtract the position of the previous point from that. It's going to give us a vector. With that vector, we'll normalize it just so it's 1 in length. No matter which direction it's pointing, it will be 1 in length, and we'll pump that out as the normal.
That sounds good.
So let's look at how we can access the previous point. We can get the position of our current point, but let's use the import attribute node to bring in the position of our previous point. If we open up the parameters, we can set the attribute to P, so we'll be bringing in the position, but it gives you the ability to specify a point number. We have the point number coming in here. It's going to be the current point number of the point that we're currently looking at. So if we were to take that and subtract 1 from it, we could look at the point previously, feed that into this point number, and get the position of the point that was previous.
Nice.
So let's wire point num into a subtract constant. And add constant, because we can add -1. That would make much more sense. So, and let's add -1 to that. So we've now got the previous point number. We can wire that into point number. So now we've got the position of our current point and the position of our previous point.
Okay.
And we can subtract the previous point's position from the current position. So let's branch off of this position with middle mouse and drop a subtract node. Ooh, the tablet exploded.
Yeah, it sure did. Okay, so we'll continue.
It's fine. We don't need the tablet right now. So, where was I? Subtract. And we can wire A data into input too.
Okay.
So this is going to give us a vector out of here. Let's wire this into and normalize. If I can actually right click on the output, just so that it's a unit vector, it's just 1 in length. And we can wire that then into the normal.
Beautiful.
So that's everything for the normals set up. So with that, we can now create a circle and copy it to our cables.
Okay.
So let's drop in a new circle, which I will name cable circle. And let's set up a couple of, firstly let's set this to polygon, and let's set up a couple of controls on our master control to specify the radius and the number of divisions.
Makes sense.
So if we find our master control, let's bring it down where we're working. And edit parameter interface. So we're dealing with cables here, so let's drop out another float and an integer. The float is going to be used for the cable radius, which we will give a range of 0.001 up to 1. And our integer will be the cable detail. And I'll give that a range. I'll limit it down to 3 as we saw before, so that'll give us a triangle.
Right.
And I'll let that range up to 10, although it can go above if you want it to. So let's accept that and use these to drive our circle node. So let's grab the cable radius. Let's actually boost that up a little and use that as the radius. And let's grab the divisions. which was cable detail, and use that to drive our divisions. Now it's worth pointing out again, I was going to point it out in the network, that when we're looking at the previous point's position, for the first point on each line, there is no previous points. That import attributes could return a 0, such that when we subtract 0 from our current position, we just get our current position. It's going to lead that the orientation of each of those circles, right at the beginning, the first circle, is going to be a little unusual. However, those circles are always inside towers or inside the base of the tier itself, the main tier. So I'm not actually worried about that.
Okay.
So yeah, I just wanted. I was going to mention that when we were inside the Vex network. It slipped my mind. You'd mentioned it at the beginning of the video. So
let's go ahead and frame up on the circle real quick and just show them that.
So yeah, here's the circle. With if we come to our master control, we can change the radius and the amount of detail on the circle.
Nice. Okay.
So with that, we can now copy the circle to this curve we just set up. So in between our normals and this guy, let's wire in a copy. But I actually want that guy to be the template geometry and our circle to be the primitives that we're copying. So this is for the first curve. If we were to look at the copy, we get all our curves. Now, we don't actually want to just use the circles as they are. We want to turn that into a surface, skin that into a surface.
Sure.
So let's right-click on this guy and run it into a skin. And that cable thickness right now is
it's just a little massive.
Thick.
Yeah.
So let's drop the radius down, something tiny. So with that, we've copied our cables in length. Let's utilize a copy node that we've already put in place to copy the towers in width, and merge this together with the towers before we copy them in width, and copy the whole lot over in width.
Okay.
So if we maximize this guy and come and find our towers, we've got our tower length copy, our tower width in between. Let's drop in a merge, and let's wire the output of our cable copy up into that merge. So at this point we've got our towers and our cables merged together, and then we copy those across for the width. So actually that's everything for this video. Let's just double check that all our settings on the master control are still taking effect and the likes. So let's see if our towers in length and towers in width.
Yeah, those are the two common ones.
Oh,
wait a minute.
Width is working.
One of them works.
Sweet. And you can see cables are going along nicely with that. Towers in length has exploded. So let's find our length and see if we can get that to update. There we go.
Very nice.
So towers in length is working. We had our...
Go ahead and kill the points for me.
Yeah, there we go. So let's take our cable height. Is basically a control from 0 to 1 of total height down to no height there. So we've got cable height. Radius we've already seen. Works nicely there. We've got our detail on the cable. We can take that right down to a triangle if we wish. And then we have control over our different arcs. So we've got our end arc and our middle arc.
Very nice.
So
you can come up with some very interesting configurations.
Yeah, you can really make some original bridge ideas from just those two parameters, controlling those two parameters. So it's a very, very nice setup for the cables. I really like how Peter went about setting up the Vex network to create these cables.
Okay, so now that we've got everything done for our main cables, let's go ahead and wrap up this video, and the next ones we'll get our vertical cables involved.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much.